Well, hello. We're going to do a tutorial for week 2, assignment 2 using Illustrator. The first thing we want to do is consider the terms warm and cool relate to color temperature. Analogous are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, and interval are the number of steps here. And there happen to be 7 steps. Warm to cool high key. This will start with a warm color and with a cool high key, lighter, brighter color, low key, darker, more muted tone. So let's take a look at these color wheels. I've got a demarcation line showing the warm colors and the cool colors. So color temperature, warm colors that we relate to warmer temperatures, heat, fire, flame, anything that produces a sensation of heat or warmth are considered warm colors. Magentas, reds, orange, yellows, red, oranges, orange, yellows, reds in the traditional color wheel. Here in the additive subtractive color wheel, cool color temperatures that kind of give us a feeling of cool temperatures, like, or things that we associate with cool: water, forests, cool grass, that kind of thing. So blues to cyans to greens. In the traditional color wheel, violets to blue, violets, blue, green, and green. So we think of forests or oceans or just cooler temperatures in general. So color temperature. Also, warm colors tend to advance in dimension, in design. They give a feeling that they are coming forward. Cooler temperatures usually tend to recede into space. So, it increases the sense of depth. Now, we're going to use 2 of these intervals for our next assignment. So we want to think about making sure that the parent colors vary in value and saturation to give us a broad range of color as well as value and saturation to work with, because we're going to be working to produce the illusion of depth. So we want to keep that in mind. Now we're going to start with warm analogous. So let's start with a warm color. And analogous are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel that share properties. Magenta, magenta red, and red are linked through a shared property. Same thing with red, orange, orange, and yellow, orange on the traditional wheel. They are linked through shared property. Green, and cyan share properties, etc. So, violet, blue, blue, violet share properties. Anything 2 to 3 hues make analogous. Beyond that, they no longer share properties. So I'm going to start with a warm hue. I want to vary the saturation. So why don't I start with a pretty vivid orange. I want it to be pretty bright, but I do want it to have a little bit of a tint because I want to vary the saturation. Now, warm colors tend to advance, so in order to produce depth in a design that's using all warm analogous colors, I'm going to go for red, and what I want to do is use a shade or a tone, because if I have a little bit of gray in the mix, it's actually going to perceptually drop back in space a little bit more. So I can also, if it's darker, right, or slightly more neutral, it's still warm. It's from orange to red are analogous hues. And now I can delete these. I'm going to select them. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. I'm going to delete them, a very important step when using Illustrator, because I'm going to use the blend tool to remake those squares. So I select the outer squares, go to Object, Blend, Blend Options, open up my steps, make sure I type in 5 because that's how many squares we're going to remake. Go to Object, Blend, Make. And now I have 5 hues of warm analogous intervals. All right, let's go to cool analogous. Now the next thing I want to do is select a cool color, and let's see, cool color, a nice cyan green, and let's make this one a light tint because we want to produce a range, right? So I'm going to make this a really pale tint. And for this one, I'm going to choose a color. So I went from 150, say, to 175. That'll put me right in there. I could go maybe a little bit further more towards a blue. And say I want to make a nice tone, but I want it to be a darker value because I want to use that to produce depth. A darker value will drop back in space a little bit more, right? Slightly neutral hue will also create a sense of depth. So I'm going to get a nice blend here. Okay, I want to delete these U's here, these squares, okay, and reselect the outer squares, go to Object. I've already set the number of steps, so I can go Make, and now I have a nice transition there. There's a real variety of value. If I wanted to, redo that, I could just Command Z, right? And Command Z, and I could start and say, well, maybe I want that to be a little bit more vivid and give me a brighter, more vivid view. So I could do that and then do the next step, delete the colors or the inner squares, reselect, go to Object, Blend, Make. So I can really adjust things fairly quickly by using the Command Z option. So watch the next one. We're going to go warm to cool. So we want to start with a warm color. Okay, let's start with, say, let's go more towards a magenta. And this needs to be in higher key. So let's start with, I want to start with a light tint, really pale tint of that color, just for the heck of it. And for this one, we want to end in a cool color. So let's see, a cool color, greens or blues. Let's see, I want to go more towards a blue. And we want it to be in high key. Now, a maximum saturated hue is definitely going to be a high key. So what we can then do is delete the inner squares, select the outer, go to Object, Blend. I've already set my blend option steps to 5, and Blend Make. Now I have a nice transition, warm to cool in the high key range. Warm to cool low key, let's start with a warm hue. Again, thinking of color temperature. Well, let's stay more in the magenta range for this one too. Okay, how about that? And we can start, say, with a darker value of that, a shade, because we want to be in the low key range, right? So now I have a darker value, warm, and we want to end with a cool hue. So let's see, what's a cool hue? Green is a cool hue. Cyan green is a cool hue. Blue, any of these cooler hues. And I want this to be also low key. So I want to keep the color pretty vivid. So I'm just going to go with a nice dark shade of this color. All right. And now what I can do is eliminate the inner squares, select the outer ones, and go to Object, Blend, Make. And now I have a transition, and there's a subtle variation. When I think about this, I probably could go darker with this one again. So maybe, I could Command Z, go back. Let me take that color and make that even darker. I really want to push the value. All right, so I can then reselect, go to Object, Blend, oops, right off of that, Make, and now I have a even more dramatic value range and varied saturation. And in Illustrator, I'm going to hit Command All, and that will select all of them. I'm going to go to Object. Oh, where did it go? No. Edit. Edit colors, and I'm going to convert to grayscale just to see what my value structure is. Now, I don't have much of a value range there. The other ones give me a nice variety in value. So I'm going to hit Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, and that's going to take me back to my original. And I think I'm going to make this one, because it was pretty dark, I think I'm actually going to make that more of a tone. I want more variety in the value structure. I'm going to see if I can maybe do that with that one, change this one, make it just a little bit lighter. I still want it to be in low key, but I still want a range of saturation, okay? So, and value, oops, gotta be careful, Command Z, put it back where it was, okay, select my inner squares, delete, select the outer ones again, Object, Blend, Make, and it looks like the value is a little bit more dramatic there. Let me hit Command All, select them all, go to Edit. I'm checking my colors for value saturation, convert to grayscale, And I'm still getting, not a great range of value there, but I want it to be low key. So I do have that option there. I can still, work with that if I want. I can go to Command Z again. And, if I want to continue to futz with that and make the value structure a little bit greater, I could certainly do that. But for now, I think you've got the idea. And now we can go to File, Save for web and devices, and make sure we're in JPEG maximum. Click on image size. We don't need to change the image size. That works just fine the way it is. Save, and it's going to open, and I can choose where I want my image to go in my images file, and last name first on every assignment. Week number, just W is good enough. 2A2, it makes it short and sweet, and we're set to go. If I decide to make a revision because, say, the feedback is that value isn't dramatic enough, I can then redo that. And if I resubmit another assignment, another version, I would put V version 2 or redo if I wanted to have a redo. Okay, that way it would be a different image file for each one. That way when I save them to my portfolio images folder, I know for sure that it's going to load. Okay, so I think that covers everything, and we're good to go.